Check, check. 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. ETM Hetep Seni Senet Dua Ba'u Emra for listening to another episode of Heck in the Chair Television. Praisers of the Divine Live. The channel you need to get involved with. Push the like button for us, please. You know, we like you, like us back. If you don't like us, why are you listening to us? Why are you using suggestions from us if you don't like us? Well, let's be likable. Let's be cordial. Let's be family. Let's be henu, as we would say. Supposed to include our brother Dana, our brother Patasik here. He wanted to bring several other people as well. Brother Harry Kafra, he was talking about bringing Infudishi as well, so I invited them. But at the moment, they're not here. But of course, I advertised the show. So even though the brother Patasik here said, do this show, and he's not here, he's probably asleep right now. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm going to proceed with it. I'm going to proceed. But before I proceed, let's try and call and wake him up real quick. Let's see. Let's see if he wakes up for us real quick.
Please leave your message for 6.
No, knocked out. Knocked out for the count. Nonetheless, we will proceed because, like I said, the show must go on. You know, if you got a show, you got to do a show. He wanted to talk about the Helical Rising in America, which is today, August 3rd. I believe it shows itself on the Eastern Shore, and from Boston, you'll be able to see it. For some of you who don't really know what the Helical Rising is, there's a lot going on with the Helical Rising concerning ancient Kim and the seasons. And when the seasons, when the inundation of the Nile would rise, you know, Sirius, they call it the dog star. You know, that's the star of our set, if you will. A lot of things happened around that. Let's see. It's I mean, a lot of things astronomically take place concerning its absolute astronomical chronology, if you will. All right. Helical rise from Kemet has become critical in several areas of inquiry. You really have to know the history of the zodiac based on dates, which the Helical Rising Sirius starts in the Great Cycle. You know, these are things that are really important. Even with my brother Ptah would hate the Ptolemy era, but we can't hate the Ptolemy era. You know what I'm saying? Ptolemy used the Helical Rising as well. Sirius derived from the Arcus visions and the method going back to Ptolemy through the work of Shach. And those are things that you should definitely know. Very reliable theoretical model of the physical and psychological processes that have been constructed and verified with extensive observational tests. Also, critical extension coefficients can be established for ancient Kemet with certain error bars, but with these advances, modern astronomers can calculate the dates of Sirius helical rise to a much greater accuracy than was possibly by the old rule of thumb. And Uncle Johnson, that's because I couldn't sneeze. I'm over here all over the place. These are important things on the human body, you know, that you know, affect you. No different than they affect the pull on the tide of the ocean, et cetera, from the moon. No different than dopamine from the sun affects your brain, et cetera, and no different than what you will find the ancient Ramech people worried concerning the Nile River, concerning the Happy River, if you will. So let me just pull from a couple sources just to make it a little more clarified. And this might be a short show because I put the show on for them. They just haven't happened to get here, but it is what it is. Uh, when the Happy River flooded in ancient Kemet, um, it was celebrated by the Remech people, by the ancient Egyptians, if you will, as a holiday for about 2 weeks, around August 15th, known as the Wafa El Nil. Um, it's still celebrated by your Coptic church, ceremonially throwing a relic of the martyr into the Happy River. Um, they call it the martyr's finger in Arabic. They call it Espa al Shaid. The Remech believe that the Happy flooded every year because of Isis's tears, or Set's tears of sorrow for her transformed husband Asar, or Osiris for you. And so her tears would flood the river, and in doing so, it would cause the inundation. It would cause vegetation. It would cause for a great farming year, if you will. Um, I would say it was about three stages of the flooding that took place during the year of the Remech calendar. You have, of course, the Arquette, uh, when the Happy River would flood, of course, the Perret, which is the sowing time, a tilling of the soil, if you will, and Shimu, the harvest time, right? And without knowing this cycle, people would have difficulty gauging when to farm and when not to, and it would cause starvation if not done correctly. And thus, it was put to a science to learn it. You will notice the Maasai people uh, have this exact calendar in use today still, from the time when they were in ancient Kemet using it to now, right? So the Maasai are very well acquainted with how these seasons work, how the Nile works, and what goes on concerning the farming. And one of the reasons why they're the most relied upon in the southern, eastern hemisphere, and even the northern hemisphere of Africa, because they know it's their science, if you will. It is the ancient Remet science, and in particular, the Maasai are very good at it, as they are some of the Remech that lived in ancient Kem. They are some of the teardrops of Ra, and as you can see, the teardrops of our Set make these things happen, right, in culture. So knowing that, it's very important for the people in that area to know when and what takes place with the stars. Life is based on the stars. Um, let's go outside. Well, let's go outside of Kemet for a minute. Because if the brothers show up, I'm sure they're going to want to go into Kemet deeply. If they don't show up, it just shows, hey, not they wanted to do it. They said, let's do it. They said, at least that brother said it. And if he don't show up, he just don't show up. He might be asleep. You never know. Something may have happened. It is what it is. But let's look at some of the festivals outside of Kemet. Let's see the effect that this rising had on other cultures. Um, let's go to what should we go? The Chorus Navalis, uh, or what some people would try to say is the true origin of the word carnival. And this is in Greece, right? In Greece, Aset was worshipped uh, by the Greeks and the Romans. During the fourth century, when Christianity was remade as the official Roman Catholic religion of the Roman Empire, her worshippers founded the first Madonna cults in order to keep her influence. A lot of people who are Christians, this used to be very important to you, probably still is important to you if you are in touch with the Madonna cults, as they call it the Black Madonna. You see it hanging up. Everybody's seeing the famous picture. The Pope is, kissing it or kneeling before it. etc., etc. And a lot of the early Christians, pastafori, meaning the shepherds or servants of our set, if you didn't know. So I'm giving you some knowledge maybe you didn't know. It's very common. This is if you study ancient history, this stuff will be known to you. I'm just pulling from a particular website because I know the story, I know the source. I have the Greek books over here. I've got one of the Greek priestesses books where she talks about it, but I'm just pulling from a website right now, trying to give my brother some time. So, you know, the influence of our set is seen all throughout Christian icons of the faithful wife and loving mother. Um, Ancient images of our set nursing Heru inspire the portraits of the mother and the child for centuries, the Madonna and child. So, if you're not familiar, you should get familiar. You should definitely get familiar. Um, what else? Let me see. When they celebrated in the springtime in Rome in particular, Rome and Greece, but in Rome in particular, Aset restores her husband, Assault, life by towing a boat filled with the sacred waters. Queen Aset is honored as the ocean star, or Stella Maris, as Mary would later be called. So it's a lot of things in common here that a lot of people don't know, that are not usually talked about, right? Um, you all know Caligula used to love our set. We'll get to him in a minute. The tallest Egyptian tekenu, they call it an obelisk, uh, that was ever created graces the square of the Pope's Cathedral in the Vatican of Rome. And it was created by the ruler of the 18th Egyptian dynasty, who also placed the dream stela between the Heru and Marquette's paws. Uh, the worship of Aset by the lower classes was the most compelling reason the Roman Empire was willing to merge their official religion, Mithraism, with Christianity to become the Roman Catholic Church. So, just a little more history about your Roman Catholics, right? Uh, I'm just going in a little bit. I'm just giving y'all some goodies. Um, Let me see. The Aset Festival of the Waters still survives throughout the Americas and Europe, with the Virgin Mary replacing Aset. Uh, the Romans celebrate the Necha Aset as the sailors and inventor of the sail. The festival of Aset, where her image is carried to the seashore to bless the start of the sailing season, was called Catus Navalis, ship cart, carnival. People still believe in the true origin of the word carnival, right? Not the farewell to the flesh, which Latin you came out with later about leaving meat, which is a new thing. That's something new, which is not a bad thing. The less flesh you eat, the better. But that's new. Uh, Queen Aset is the ocean star, or Stella Maris, as I said before, and she would later be the guide and protector of navigators, identifying Aset with Sirius, the brightest star, main beacon point in the sky for sailors. So if you were sailing, you usually used Aset to guide you through the way. Helical rising, or date when Sirius can first be seen rising in the east, just before the rising of the sun, fell on July 26th. And that was also associated with the Happy River flooding. So as we did the show the other day, on July 26th, I believe, or 27th, it was very close. 25th might have been earlier. Um, we're talking about the Helical Rising in ancient Kemet. But we also believe that you should do a celebration here in America for that. If you're a Rametz lifestyle, this is what it's all about. You see, the whole world celebrates this. And yet a lot of you are still asleep concerning it, right? Still asleep concerning it. While the whole world was giving adoration to Aset. Uh, a lot of people, you just didn't know. You know about the Ocean Star Festival? The 5th of March. Um, Songs sang, boats with lamps on them. Marker. Right at right now, about 140 days of 14 deacons, 10-day weeks, um, as some people would say, based off of that, marker from March 5th. My brother Patasa Care is going to disagree and tell you it's 9. We'll also tell you, like I told you before, the Peseja 2 means 9. But 140 days of 14 deacons, 10-day weeks is what everybody's trying to throw out. Until a new flow of red water should begin the next happy flood on July 26th, right? So this is why it's very important. And on the 5th of March, usually, you have like the boat festival. You light the boats, got the lamps in there. They let the lamps go in the air, et cetera, et cetera. Um, you know, that's what it's all about. Uh, our set, you dedicate to our set a new season of selling uh, your boat. Good fortune on the water. This is the ancient festival of Isidis Navigum, as they call it, the ship of Aset. So, or as the Greeks and Romans would say, Ploia Festia, which honored Aset. Invention of the sail and her patronage of selling craft and navigation is part of the festivities, right? So, just some of the things you should know. Um, the priest cheat the tip out the tip head the heady tip or the tip heady the tip heady tip. The chief priest carries a lamp, a golden boat shaped light with a tall tongue of flame, as they would say, from a hole in the center. The second priest holds on to one of the pots in each of his hands, and the third priest carries a miniature palm tree. The fourth priest carries uh, a model of the left hand with the finger stretched out, the emblem of justice, as well as a golden vessel in the shape of a woman's breast. Sound like anything you see in America? Huh? When you see the scales of justice held in the air by the blinded female, but in Kemet we didn't blindfold our eyes, right? From the nipple falls a thin stream of milk, right? So with the finger stretched out, the emblem of justice was as a golden vessel in the shape of a woman's breast. And from the nipple falls a thin stream of milk. The fifth cleric, the fifth priest, carries a winnowing fan woven with golden rods. Golden rods. Not of Osir, not of Asar. And then the final priest, or I'm sorry, the final person, because he's not a priest, pardon me, carries a wine jar, right? Next in the procession of this particular celebration, you have Ampu with the black, his face is black on one side and golden on the other. Uh, you have a man carrying a statue of Het Heru, um, the fruitful mother of us all. Uh, then a priest comes behind him with a box containing secret implements of Aset, and another priest carries a secret vessel in his robes. And these are probably priests from, the house of life of Aset. Um, it's usually a small burnished gold. The particular vessel he carries um, usually has metal netcher and a rounded bottom, a long spout, and a curving handle with an asp raising its head and displaying its throat like a snake around the handle's uh, top portion. And by the seashore, there's usually a beautiful built ship. You know, the Remech built some really different looking ships, very good at it back in the day. That was their claim to fame for a little while, besides the boat, So just so you know what it is. Um, the cell is fashioned with white linen, inscribed with large letters, with a prayer for the Netcharet protection of the shipping lanes during the new sailing season. And the long mast is made of fur. The prow is shaped like the neck of Aset, uh, the holy goose, and the long keel is cut from a solid trunk of citrus wood. And I'm sure you know why they're using that citrus wood, because Asar's uh, sarcophagus, if you will, was supposedly found by the Syrian king in that tree, which caused the tree to grow huge. And Aset wanted that back, and the king needed that tree for his own use. So they absolutely cut the tree down, uh, gave it to Aset, as the allegorical story goes, right? And then the ship is purified with a lighted torch, an egg representing that great calcular, cackler, and sulfur, and then hollowed and dedicated to the Netcharet Aset. Everyone there uh, has winnowing fans. They're just kind of waving their fans, heaped with a bunch of and different things that smell good. Um, she was known to smell really good, as some of the stories say. Um, Several offerings were on board while pouring milk into the sea as a libation. Uh, and when the ship was loaded with gifts and prayers for good fortune, the anchor cables are cut, setting the ship free. So this is how the particular ceremony was celebrated for Aset, right? For Aset. Very important. Very important. Very, very important. And we could go on and on with more stories. But I thought the brothers would be here, and they're not here, man. So, I'm gonna give you guys a short one today. Nice and short. It's been a while since I did a short one. Um, and I will let you, resolve on some of that and think about some of that. And they're calling me already. Also, uh, just to end out, right? Let's end out, right? I give you a maxim from Ptahhotep, which you probably already read before, but it's important that some of these things stick in your mind and stick with you throughout your day. So, as the Helical Rising is, I'll say these parting words. Um, if you are to be among leaders, this is Maxim 8 from Ptahhotep, the Vizier, Uncle Jasaneb Ma'akeru, he was. Um, if you are to be among, it says, Irwinek im Sesheshmiyu. If you are to be among leaders, Hedi Wedge in Zakir in uh, Ashawit, in charge of the guidance of many, Hehi Nek Zepneb Minka. Search thyself for every flaw thoroughly. Orwin net Zakerek Nin U Imif, until there exists in your comportment no fault. Where Ma'at Wa'a Shepdat. Great is Ma'at, ever at the ready. Ever at the ready, right? So let's read that again. If you are among leaders in charge of the guidance of the many people, search thyself for every flaw thoroughly until there exists in your comportment no fault. Inside your body, no fault. Great is Ma'at and ever at the ready. Ma is always ready to justify you. Search yourself for flaws thoroughly. Clean yourself out of flaws until you find no fault. So observe every behavior you have, every thought that you start to make and commence, every idea you start to move forth with. Make sure it's faultless. Make sure it's blameless. Make sure it's in Ma'at. Be ready in Ma'at. Do that for our set, this helical rising. And most importantly, do it for yourself as you are an Asar. Remember who you are and be an Asar. Know that those teardrops in the water fall for you. If you are Ramech in ancient Kemet, know that her teardrops still fall for you daily, making sure you have clean water to drink wherever you are, making sure that you are happy selling going forth into the day wherever you are. Uncle Jasaneb, dua for listening. We look forward to talking to you again. Imhotep.